Hey, Guy Powell here, and welcome to the next episode of the Backstory of Marketing and AI. And if you haven't already done so, please visit prorelevant.com and sign up for all of these episodes and podcasts. I am the author of the upcoming book, The AI Marketing Machine, and you can find out more information on that at marketingmachine.prorelevant.com. Today, I'm interviewing Boobesh Ramadurai of LatentView Analytics. And before we get started, let me tell you a little bit about him. Boobesh is the head of Marketing Analytics Center of Excellence at LatentView Analytics, and he's going to share valuable insights on blending data and AI to transform marketing strategies and enhance customer engagement and drive measurable ROI. Boobesh, welcome. So good to have you today.
Hi, Guy. Nice to meet you and good to have you.
Yeah, fantastic. So before we get started, what is your backstory on AI and marketing? How did you get involved in this fun space?
Sure. I have been in the analytics space for over a couple of decades now. In fact, when I started working in analytics at that point in time, analytics was not even a keyword. Not many people were storing the data and not using the data for their driving business decisions. Financial sectors were the initial ones to start using analytics a lot more in terms of driving business to identify who are the customers who will pay, what kind of segments of customers who are available, because that is only the sector that is capturing a lot of information. But over the last 20 years, every company started capturing data and started making data drive decisions, especially in the CMO's world, especially in the marketing world, because there is a lot of digital social media and channels that marketers have gotten hold to it. Before, it was only the broadcast channel or the events or the ad that you see while driving in a highway, right, where there is not a lot of information. But with the whole advancement in the digital channel, and everybody started using internet, getting into Facebook, getting into Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all of the social media have helped generate marketers to not only focus on the off-channel marketing, but also the on-channel marketing. And with the online channel marketing, there is a lot more data that has started coming in. And with that data, the marketers have become a lot more smarter in terms of who are the kind of customers that I need to focus on, what kind of information are they looking for, what kind of usage that they are doing in our organization, in the products that we are using, and how do we brand that, right? So there is a ton of data that has been started getting used for the marketers to make the decision. And that is how my journey has been over the last decade or so, where I have started focusing a lot more on helping the CMOs of different organizations. I'm based out of the Bay Area, so I've been using the location advantage and working with all of the tech clients that is out here and supporting their marketing teams in terms of how to effectively use the data to drive their campaigns. And the space has been continuously evolving, both from the analytics perspective and from the marketers in terms of how they market and personalize the content for their audience. So it's been a great journey.
Yeah, it sure has. It's definitely pretty crazy what's going on. So now with the advent of Gen AI, how do you see, or maybe what are some practical use cases of how some of the Fortune 500 companies are using generative AI in their marketing?
Sure. The marketing across the funnel, if you look at it, right from understanding what the customers are thinking about the product, to running market research campaigns like running a survey or running a social media campaign, those things, to understanding in terms of what the customers are looking for and which segment of the customers, what kind of messages needs to be passed on and in which channel it needs to be passed on, to how do we measure some of this in a more real time, and also kind of going past and doing personalization at scale, right? In all of this, there is a lot of AI that can play an important role. And all of this has been traditionally the marketers have been using for the last 5 to 10 years, right? And the data has been a key part of this decision making in each of this. For example, there was always market research that goes out in terms of filling out a form, doing a focus group, or understanding from the social media in terms of what is the perception of the customers on the brand or the product or the new feature that they have been launching. Now, all of this can be understood and provide insights to the users in a much more real time with the whole advantage of GenAI. And if you think about the market research, generally it is a very unstructured data. The focus group conversation is all voiceover, whereas the survey is all text format. The social media is all text format. And historically, the companies which didn't have a bigger team to make sense of all of this data can now do it through GenAI. All they need to do is pass on all of this information into a model, and they'll be able to ask questions and find out in terms of what is working versus what is not working. So that is in terms of the brand perception and understanding. The second is in terms of the experimentation. Now, the one big advantage that I see the market as unlocking with the whole AI is everybody has been using analytics for a long time now, especially the marketers, to understand in terms of what kind of A/B testing works and what doesn't work. But now you can also do this same A/B testing. In fact, A to Z kind of a testing even for the same user through the whole creatives that has been created, right? And the creatives can be created on the fly using some of the GenAI, which typically marketers will work with an agency team or a creative team within their organization, which will take anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. If you think of it, the historical way, the marketers will go to the creative agency and say that, hey, tomorrow I'm going to do a back to school campaign in the next quarter, and in the back to school campaign I wanted to come up with a creative which is more present but also carries some of our past campaign performance, also carries some of the culture or the kind of product that the organization stands for. We need to incorporate some of this and then cater to the audience that is there today. And they take a brief, the agencies come up with a first draft, the marketers looks at it, have some fine tuning, the agency go back, work on it and come back. This pretty much takes around 4 to 6 weeks for any campaign to be launched. But now with the whole advent of GenAI, all of this can be fast processed and it can be done within a week. The marketers will be able to put together certain prompts to any of the LLMs that they have internally, and they will be able to kind of build out the first creative draft and then use that for enhancing a lot more, right? So that is a whole new unlock that I'm seeing for the marketers, which in the coming days we will see most of the companies will start adapting it. And for this, you don't need to have a big budget, you don't need to have a big team to enable all of this. All of this can be done at scale, and scale is another thing that AI is going to unlock a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's certainly, all of that. It is pretty amazing how well personalized and how creative you can be, and that's just going to lead to a significantly better ROI from marketing, and then definitely marketing where you can prove its effectiveness. So, what are some of the challenges that the organizations are facing today with AI, and maybe some of the this term agentic AI systems that are out there? What can they do, and how are they moving from pilot into full production?
Sure. So the biggest challenges that I see, that I've noticed when we talk to some of the clients is the data, right? Because there is data, algorithm, and the business use case. The business use case, pretty much most of the marketers know in terms of what are the problems that they wanted to solve. The algorithm, before it was not so easy to access, but now with the whole advent of GenAI, it is very easy to access and it has been democratized. And it is not like the algorithms or a formula that is being used by a big company like Google cannot be used by a smaller company. Right now, it's been, the level playing field has been set, and everybody have access to the same kind of algorithm that is out there. The third part of it, which is the foundation, is the data, right? And the data becomes unique for every organization. And you cannot use the same data where another organization uses. You need to start capturing all of your customers' data, what your customer likes and don't like, what kind of product are they using, what kind of feature within that product do they like, what kind of campaigns are they responding to, and where you are getting on a higher typical metrics like open rate, click rate, impressions, and all of that. So there is a DNA for every organization, and that DNA comes from the product that you are offering and the customers who are using those products, and that needs to be captured in the data. And that is where I see a lot of bottleneck in many of the organizations, where the data is, everybody wants to get into this AI wave, everybody wants to start using it, but when they go into in terms of what is the data that is available for me to use it, that is where the real challenge comes in. And when we start having conversations with our client, everybody excited to get to a pilot mode. We get into a pilot mode, and then we discover saying that if for pilot, even though the pilot is a successful for a particular champion who is coming in for a use cases, if we really want to scale it, we need a large variation of the data, and that large variation of the data is not there in many organizations at this point in time. In fact, that is where we also do a discovery exercise and tell them that not all data is useful, but what are the data that you need to capture and build your foundation models now.
It's so interesting when you say that variation in the data, makes such a difference. And I think you're right. And what really is important is how you structure all of that data as well, so that it hits all of the different pieces that are necessary to really understand, what your customers are doing. So, how are larger organizations now scaling some of their generative AI activities? How are they going from pilot to production and really moving into something where it's, it's not necessarily a click of the button, but it's certainly, done to where it can be almost half automated or maybe even fully automated?
Yeah, sure. I think it is very sexy to say that every organization is working on AI, but if you really look at it in terms of what number of organizations have moved their pilot project to production, the numbers is astonishing, right? In fact, the Gartner came up with a report saying that 83% of the all C-suite level wanted to work on AI and wanted their enterprise team to focus on AI solutions. But if you look at it, less than 1/3 of that are even actually doing a pilot, and even 1/3 of that are even moving into a production. And this we can see from our own experience, a smaller subset of sample experiences from our own organization experience. When we have hundreds of conversation on AI, out of that hundreds of conversation, 1/3 of them saying that, hey, this is great, I like what you're saying, let's go and do a pilot. And the pilot takes anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. We are able to do it, and from that pilot to production, we see again only 1/3 of that moving into a production. So there is a lot of filtering that happens, and there are multiple reasons to that, right? What we have learned from organization which are successfully able to move a pilot to a production is, one, they do have a very robust data ecosystem, or at least they are able to acknowledge saying that this is the data that I have today, and this is the kind of data that I need to start capturing in the future. So that is one part of it. The second part of it, it is not like only one person getting involved in it. They are able to wrangle the whole C-suite and a larger team to come in. So it is not only a marketing manager saying that, hey, I wanted to do this, but the marketing manager is able to involve the CMO saying that this is the AI use cases that we are working on and we need your presence in it. So the CMO is then able to tap onto the CIO, CTO of the organization, and even the infrastructure team, because we need to start bringing in the infrastructure team and the info security team right there in the pilot mode to understand what kind of components that we have been used and whether it has all been approved by the internal organization, especially when you are working with a Fortune 500 company where there is so much of protocol that they go with. We see even the pilot becomes successful, but then their internal alignment between different teams in terms of saying that this is the architecture that we are going to go into production may not be aligned, right? And that will take forever. So it is better to start involving, set up a kind of a tiger team and start involving one representative from each of these different functions to start coming in on and contributing on this pilot mode so that we are able to move. The third most important thing is we need to have a champion from the client stakeholder who are willing to try and fail and also help in terms of improving. What I have noticed over time is we are very relaxing when it comes to human making a mistake. We say that, hey, it's at the end of the day, it's a human and a human will bound to make mistakes. But we are very critical when it comes to AI making a mistake. We don't want the machines to make a mistake. And we are expecting it to work like a calculator. Hey, if I say 5 + 5, it should give me an answer. Why give me an error? But that will never be the case. When you're starting up something, there is going to be some level of hallucination, some level of fine tuning that we have to do. And for that, we need to have an internal champion who are a little more patient and work with that and continuously experiment with that so that it gains over time, right? So that is the three most important thing that I see in terms of not to set very high expectation when it comes to AI pilot, and having a more realistic, but looking at it over a longer term and not really a short term objective.
Yeah, absolutely. And and it's kind of funny because, we do expect AI to be perfect, and it's so funny when you see it hallucinating and going off the rails. And but it's if I think about even, how AI is being used in driving a car, if that AI driven car has an accident, then it's AI's fault. But the accident rate for cars driven by AI are significantly less than cars driven by humans. So it is definitely a change in the way that we need to think about how AI and how humans actually do things and make decisions. Because humans make certainly a lot more mistakes than computers, and I think it's pretty much the case. Maybe not entirely yet, but it's moving there where
Yeah.
humans are still making more mistakes than AI generated results and stuff like that. So, what do you see as maybe the top two best practices now in using Gen AI and some of the larger companies that you deal with?
I think one is definitely there should be a buy-in from the C-suite in terms of pushing their team to become an AI first approach. I think all of us as an individual need to start spending time and using AI in whatever the capacity that we wanted to use. I read somewhere it says that the next generation of workers who are going to come into the professional life are going to be AI first, right? They are going to start using AI even if we ask in whichever format. And if AI truly becomes a lot more productive in terms of what it is today, and it is already showing all the signs of it, right? Either you think about a software engineer, or you think about a marketer using to build a creative another thing, they are not going to do it the old fashioned. They are going to do it in a much more digital friendly format and AI friendly format, and the models are going to get smarter. And when these people kind of come into the workforce, it is absolutely needed for all the organizations to be AI first company. And if, in fact, there are some media and entertainment companies which says that, hey, we will not be in this AI at this point in time because of whatever is happening, right? In terms of there is a fight with the writers, and there is a chaos. So there are organizations which says that maybe we will not take this route. But I think in the end, I think every company is going to become an AI based company, or start using AI to not only improves the efficiency and the productivity, but if they really wanted to give value to the client. And in fact, that is something that I have noticed compared to some of the past technological wave that we have seen versus this wave, the AI wave. The value that you are able to provide to the client is much more evident. Take a customer support as an example. If a human is going to be there in a call and respond, we have all know in terms of what is the waiting time that we have in a call when we try to call a customer support, right? And if you are able to get a response in like few hours, then that is the kind of a company that we all wanted to go and partner with, saying that, hey, there is one company which is able to respond to me in 5 minutes, either it is a human or it's a computer. Whereas another company, I need to stand in a line to talk to a human for like 2 hours. Maybe I'll choose this, right? So the value to the customer is going to be the far more important. And if AI is enabling you to provide that value to the company, I think you should start doing it. As you said, the two things is, one, we should all start using AI in whatever capacity that we have, so that we are keeping up with the trend. And the second is, in our own workspace, we need to find out what are the things that I'm doing more repeatedly, and is there a possibility for converting some of this repeated task into a more automated task through the agents.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So I'm sure you've got some personal favorites in terms of some of the tools that you're using. Which ones kind of really stand out for you as some of the things that you're doing in your business?
Yeah. The number one for me is the Notebook LM, because I am a huge podcast listener, and now I don't need to go through tons of research documents, or a new publication articles that comes out. I just take it out and put it into Notebook LM, and then it converts into a podcast for me. And that podcast is something that I'm able to hear when I'm doing whatever, walking or working out in the gym or driving a car, right? So Notebook LM is definitely a great unlock or a great tool that I have been using on a more regular basis. And few other things that I've been using Perplexity a lot more for doing all of my deep research, searching on a company, or searching on a particular topic and all of that. That is something that I have been using more regularly. But I've also been exploring something like napkin.ai that kind of helps in terms of slide preparation, cursor.ai when I really wanted to get into coding. Some of this has been my personal favorites.
Okay. Yeah, fantastic. That's it's always helpful to hear what other folks are using and figure out how, and try them out and see what's going on. So, do you see any differences in different industries as to how Gen AI is being used for certain things in one industry versus another?
Yes, we have been fortunate to work across different industries, and I see, especially in the CPG, they have been using Gen AI to identify. One of the biggest problems that the CPG vertical has is when they want to come up with a new product, it takes anywhere typically from 2 years to 3 years. The whole ideation in terms of what does the customers want, to in terms of what kind of ingredients can be put into a makeup or product, how the product needs to be packaged, and how do we test out this product, and then going into the market in terms of how it needs to be positioned, right? All of this as a journey, it will take like good 2 to 3 years. And even though they are able to find out in terms of what the customer needs and what kind of ingredients that they are looking for a bigger organization, if it takes 3 years, then the smaller influencer based smaller companies are able to do it in 2 3 months, right? So which in a way that the bigger companies are always finding a tough in terms of fighting with the smaller players because the product has already been mainstream right now. The Gen AI, and we have seen live use cases where they are using the Gen AI to bring this time frame of 2 to 3 years to 2 to 3 months, and that is a great unlock that I have seen in the consumer space. In the financial sectors, we have already seen a lot of use cases around the customer support. Wells Fargo has came up with Forge as a support agent where you can go and ask any questions about your account and the investment plans that they have. We have seen plan comparison as a good use case. If I wanted to go and look for what are the different investment plans that is available and how do I compare and contrast between different plans, or what are the different insurance plans that is available and how do I compare and contrast between different plans, right? The plan comparison is a great use case that I have seen in the financial sectors, financial and insurance sectors. In the tech, obviously the CMOs organization have been using it a lot more in terms of doing it for creative. Coming up with Adobe Firefly is a great product for it. Adobe Firefly came up with that in terms of how you can automate a lot more on the creative part of it for every organization. The whole orchestration of cross-channel attribution and using agents to go ahead and launch some of these campaigns has been a great use case. So it's been pretty interesting in terms of how across different industries they are focusing on a particular function and going deeper on it.
Yeah, very interesting. And yeah, and it is funny how, for a larger organization, a CPG, a big CPG, taking 2 to 3 years, and the smaller companies can turn something around in 2 or 3 months. And there's definitely an opportunity for these larger consumer companies to reduce that 2 or 3 years down to maybe not 2 or 3 months, but certainly something significantly cheaper. And, the faster you can turn something around that's really innovative, that's really valuable to the consumer space, the more revenue you're going to be able to achieve. And,
Exactly.
so this is a critical opportunity for those consumer companies to really drive revenue growth that they wouldn't otherwise be able to achieve.
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing it, there is another competitor who's sitting by the side of yours and who's doing it and taking
Yeah.
all your customers.
Yeah, can you imagine, you're sitting there and you've got your development plan, your product cycle, it's 2 or 3 years away, and your competition is launching something today, and then 6 months later they've launched the next one and the next one, and you're still waiting on 3 years to go by before you're done.
Yeah.
Big opportunity for them to significantly improve and accelerate that development life cycle. Unfortunately, we've got to break here in a little bit, so I could talk to you for probably another hour or two. But I did want to ask one last question. And, with AI, well, generative AI coming into marketing, so what kind of advice would you give an up and coming new marketer in order for them to kind of break into the market now that AI is to some extent competing with them for that position?
It depends upon what kind of marketer that you wanted to be. If you wanted to be a channel marketing, then you need to focus on a particular channel and find out in terms of what kind of agents those channels are building. For example, if you're focusing on Facebook or if you're focusing on YouTube, YouTube is going to come up with their own agents in terms of helping the marketers to do it. Having hands-on experience on some of that will definitely help. If you wanted to become more of a campaign marketer, where you pick a particular campaign like holiday campaign or a theme-based campaign, and you wanted to understand how this campaign has been performing across different channels, then definitely data is going to be a friend of yours. You need to understand how to use the data to find out which channel I need to market on and which kind of customers are there in each of those channels. Understanding about your customer, product, and the channel that you need to focus on is important if you wanted to become a campaign marketer. If you wanted to become more of a measurements and insights for the marketing team, then there is a lot of brand insights and the measurement metrics that you need to be aware of. I think having a sense of in terms of where all of this is moving towards, and there is always new channels that keeps popping up. We see that especially in the B2B world, LinkedIn is becoming a lot more powerful channel compared to some of the other things. So we need to understand, and even within the channels also, and every channel wants to keep their audience within their platform and not really have a click through and send it. The algorithms keeps changing and in each of these channels, so staying aware and finding out in terms of what's been changing will definitely help you, and focusing on one thing will definitely help. That has been my learning. Instead of being a jack of all, having a master of one definitely helps you to stand out.
It's interesting that you say that because, one thing I've found with when I interview, entry level marketers, they really don't have a good understanding of what are all of the different areas that they could be interested in or want to work in. And to some extent, all they want to do is just get a job. But, one of the things, though, I think where AI can really help them to hone exactly what they can do and what they want to focus in on when they get that first job. So, you mentioned a couple things, whether it was brand insights or measurement or creative or whatever it happens to be, is, I think they should be able to, and they can be able to use AI to now really help them to understand what is it that I would actually be doing if I was in this job versus this one or versus that one. And that then will make their interview that they get significantly more valuable. And I think maybe that's one way for them to to help themselves to really do a better job at getting a job.
Yeah, no, totally agree, 100%. I think that will also help you to keep learning on that particular space over time, which eventually you'll become a master of that space.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Boobesh, thank you so much. I wish we could go on, but unfortunately, doing a podcast for 2 or 3 hours, some people might listen to it, but I think we're going to have to close it off here. Thank you again so much. It's really been interesting, and you certainly have some great perspectives on the Gen AI space and marketing. So where can folks reach you and learn more about your company and go from there?
Sure. No, thank you so much for having me, Guy. It was a great conversation. I personally enjoyed this last 20-30 minutes. I'm very easy to find out. You can go to LinkedIn and look for Boobesh Ramadurai. I'll be the only person who will show up there. And you can reach out to my company through latentview.com, LATENTVIEW.
Fantastic. So latentview.com, LATENTVIEW.com. Boobesh, thank you so much. Really appreciate it, and look forward to possibly chatting again. And for the audience, please stay tuned for many other videos in this series of the backstory on marketing and AI. And please go to marketingmachine.prorelevant.com and download some new information on my upcoming book, The AI Marketing Machine. Boobesh, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Guy. All the best for your new book. I'm looking forward to it.
No, thank you. Appreciate that.